Hi, Biology 112. This is Joy Colley. As we get down to the end of the semester, I'm getting several questions on email and through the discussion board about sort of how the final exam is going to work and then how you calculate your overall average and final grade this semester. So I thought I would give you a little bit of information about the final exam. So in this quick video, I'm just going to walk you through calculating your overall average so that you know where you stand, and then give you a little bit of information about the test itself. So the final lecture exam is scheduled to be available on Tuesday, April 28th. That is the same day that we had originally scheduled at the very beginning of the semester before we went to the online format. So that day is consistent. Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. The test will be available sort of all day long. I'm going to launch it. You have between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Tuesday to take the exam. I'm giving you 2.5 hours maximum. I don't know that you'll necessarily need that amount of time, but that is the maximum allowable through the Blackboard. So it'll be available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the way we're doing the grades this semester, now you did 11 lab activities. I've dropped your lowest lab quiz. When you see that on Blackboard, you'll see your lowest lab quiz, the word exempt, is displayed on Blackboard. That's an indication that that score is no longer going into your overall calculation. Now Blackboard is also going to display your total point value. So there's several things up on Blackboard. There are the individual scores for the tests and the quizzes and the sprinkle points, etc. There is your percentage where Blackboard kind of calculates where you are along the way. But what we're talking about here is what's under the word total on Blackboard. That's the total number of points you've earned this so far this semester. So if we add everything together, everything we've done in lab, all the points from lab, all the points from lecture, we get what we call the total. That is displayed on Blackboard. I'm going to be referencing that number, and you need that number in order to try to calculate your overall average. And here's how it works. The final exam, the exam we're talking about, the last thing to finish out the semester, is worth 150 points. So a normal lecture exam throughout the semester has been 100. The final exam is worth 150. So here's how you calculate here's how you calculate your overall average at the end. I'm going to take all the points. So the total that you have on Blackboard, that's what you've earned so far, plus whatever points you earn on the final exam. I'm going to add those together. And if you end up in the 900s, I will have offered 1,000 points by the end of the semester. So if your total, what you have so far, and what you earn on the final exam equals 900 or better, 900 out of 1,000 is a 90%. You've earned an A. Anything in the 800s total is going to be in the B. Anything in the 700s is going to be a C. And anything less than 700 points, that's the total you have so far, plus the points you earn on the final exam, is not a passing score. So students always say, okay, so what can I still make? You know, given where I am now, can I still make an A? Given where I am now, can I still pass the course? So here's how you calculate that. We are going to do a sample calculation in just a moment to make sure you understand this. But as always, if you want an individual question about your individual numbers, just email me. I'm happy to respond to you. But you're going to take your total number on Blackboard. Once again, that's the number of points you've earned so far. That's absolutely every point you have so far. We're going to add the maximum number that you could possibly earn if you were 100% successful on the final. That's 150. So how many you have so far, plus how many points are still out there on that final. If that number is greater than 900, then it is possible to make an A. If that total number is greater than 800, it is possible to make a B. And if it is greater than 700, it is possible to make a C. So that's how you calculate, can I still make? How many points do you have now? Add the maximum you could get on the final exam, and that puts you in range. But the real question that students often ask me is, well, okay, now I know I could make a B. Now I know I could pass the course, but how many points do I actually need? Because remember, the final exam is out of 150 points. So here's how you calculate that. If you're looking for an A, the minimum number of points to give you an A is 900. So we take 900 and you subtract how many points you've already earned. That's that total value on Blackboard. And if it's less than 150 points, that's how many you need on the final. If it's greater than 150 points, that's why you can't make an A, because there are not enough points out there. So to make an A, you say, okay, 900 minus how many I already have, how many points do I need on the final? To make a B, you say 800 minus the total you have on Blackboard. How many points do I need out of 150? And to C, you take 700 and subtract your total on Blackboard. So this is how many points you need on that final. Let's do a little sample calculation. Once again, I'm always happy to run you through. Say that your total on Blackboard displayed 705 points. Right, so that's going to be your individual number that you pull from Blackboard. To figure out maximum you could do, you add 150, because that's the maximum points that you can get on this final. In this particular example, that gives us 855. Because you're in the 800s, that tells you it's possible to make a B. You can't raise your grade into the 900s. There are not enough points. That tells you you cannot make an A. In this particular example, you could get a maximum of 855. So then I say, okay, now I recognize it is possible for me to make a B in this example. So how many points do I need on the final to make that B? What you're going to do is take the minimum number for a B, which is 800, and you're going to subtract how many points you already have. That's that example number of 705, 95 points. Now the final exam is out of 150, so what I'm saying is to make a B in this example, I would need 95 points out of 150 on the final exam to obtain that grade. Anything less would be a C or lower. So this is just kind of walking. You can plug your own numbers, the total from Blackboard, you add 150, that tells you, are you in the 900s, the 800s, the 700s, and that tells you A, B, C. And then you can calculate specifically, okay, to make an A I need, to make a B I need, to make a C I need. All right, so that's what's going on there. The lecture final itself is, as we mentioned, with 150 points. It is cumulative, but not back to the entire semester. So it will cover everything we've done from Chapter 7, that's the first of the body systems, that's the integumentary system, take you all the way through Chapter 24. We did not cover 25, so you're not responsible for 25, but you are responsible for 26. So it covers Chapters 7 through 24 and 26. That's integumentary all the way through. Chapter 26 is the reproductive system. I anticipate that you'll have approximately 75 questions to answer online. And question types are going to be similar to what you had on the last lecture exam online, but just to kind of review, you will have some matching, you will have some true-false, you will have, oh, these are out of order, you will have some short answer, where you're typing in a paragraph or two, or a paragraph, perhaps 2 or 3 sentences. This particular portion of the semester, we've had a lot of pathways. And what I mean is pathway. You have pathway of food through the digestive system. You have pathway of air through the reproductive system. Pathway of air through the respiratory system. I misspoke. You have pathway of blood through the heart. So I could ask you pathway. Okay, so pathways. For example, I could say food flowing in the esophagus will go into what structure? Next along the pathway would be the stomach in that case. I could say air coming in through the trachea during inspiration will go into what structure? Air passes from the trachea into the bronchi in that example. I could say blood flowing through the pulmonary semilunar valve ends up in what vessel? Pulmonary artery in that case. So there are lots of pathways related to each of these individual body systems, so you want to kind of pay attention to those. I could have you label, this is a lab quiz, but we have done some anatomy in the lecture. So we had a picture of the brain and a picture of the eye and a picture of an nephron. I'm thinking of things that we actually posted on the lecture notes and kind of reviewed the anatomy. So anything that's from the lecture, I could ask you. You'll also have some fill-in. This is where you are putting the terminology into. I ask you for a definition, or give me an example of, or what's the term for. We've seen all of these type of questions before, and they're all going to be there on this exam. The ones that are fill-in, where you're typing something in, those, I go through each of those questions individually. So that might be labeling, pathway, fill-in, short answer. I review those and I do give partial credit. So after you've turned in the exam through Blackboard, I go through each exam and make sure that you've earned all the points that you deserve. And I just want to remind you that there's lots of review material up online. You can always ask me questions as well. But in the folder Study Guides lecture, you have all the quick reviews going back through chapter 7. So if you want to go back and look at the integumentary system or the bones, or maybe review the immune system, all the quick reviews are up there. You also have a dedicated final exam review, and it's about 5 pages. I guess that depends on exactly how you print it out, but it's 100 or so plus questions that are very similar to what you're going to see on this exam. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And if there are any that you're unclear about, just find me, email me, ask me specifically. So if you do have any questions, let me know. And I hope that you have success on this exam. All right. Thank you very much.